I like the vibe of this one. So much stuff in the way. What's up, guys? Happy Wednesday, hump day, March 17th, 2021. So much basketball tonight. Decent chunk last night. Hopefully you guys had a pretty good night last night. Seems like everybody in the circle did. The only guy that was like a bum for me last night was SGA. Outside of that, man, I was smacking last night. So I'm assuming that most of you guys had a strong night as well. Why isn't it showing the leaderboard? Let me refresh DK Live, see if it'll pop up the leaderboard for us. But yeah, man, I had a couple of lineups last night inching their way up there. Ended up being maybe less than 20 points from a takedown. I don't know. Dame Dollar, Slate leading scorer, another 70 bomb against the New Orleans Pelicans, one of the worst team defenses in the league. 50 bomb, 41 minutes. 10.8K. He had to be the highest scoring player on the slate, and he was on FanDuel. He was a little bit more fiscally responsible, but a lot of late value opened up that money really wasn't a thing. Houston became a really strong value stack. The Atlanta Hawks were a pretty strong value stack. So I was able to fit a lot of these pieces in pretty well. LBJ, Jimmy Bucket, Zach LaVine. LaVine, I didn't really have much of. I don't even think I had any of Zach LaVine, but I still managed to have a strong night. The Big Cat with a 50 bomb, but it didn't matter because min price Moses Brown matched him with a 50 bomb of his own. I was down on that Celtics game. Could have went there. It was really hard to get yesterday wrong. If you made one or two mistakes in a lineup, that lineup probably tanked. We can look at some of my top lineups on FanDuel yesterday. That's a different tab. So my top lineup in the 25 maxes put up 409.7. First place was 427. So the like normally a 409 really puts you in the dance. So that's how high scoring the slate was, and that's how little room for error there was. If I compare my top line to the number one line, it's a difference of like a Montrezl Harrell missed out on a point on a Tobias Harris and a John Collins versus or over a Zion. Emmanuel Quickly was a pretty chalky 20 bomb. I was able to make up a couple points with Ty Jerome there. Victor Oladipo, really rough start, and he snapped at the end there, turning it on. And then I had the Rubio Dame connection there at the top. And that was just kind of the story of my top few lineups. I had one at 402, a couple 400 bombs last night. I wasn't even really paying attention. So Satoransky with a 30 bomb. But this is a great example of winning the position, right? These value plays are strong, but at some point, raw points comes into play. And Satoransky did not end up in the winning lineup, at least in this tournament. It was Rubio and Damian Lillard. Horton Tucker with another 30 bomb. He was a couple $100 above Actually, man, that would have been the move for me to go Tucker over Jerome, right? But it was a strong night for me last night. Hopefully you guys had a strong night of your own. Like I said, most of the people in the circle, especially in the Discord, I don't think anyone lost money last night. So hopefully we can keep it up tonight. It's a much bigger slate, a lot more games, and a lot more news to try and manage and keep strong hold of. But that's what we're here, man. That's what we do every day. So we're going to navigate the slate today. Before we do that, we'll get caught up on some of the news that we need to be watching. And then, of course, you guys, man, how you guys doing? Darn, currently in line waiting for the vaccine. Congrats, buddy. I think more and more people I talk to now are getting access to the vaccine, man. That's pretty cool. Good sign that maybe we're going to open up soon. Crispy. Today's already getting crazy. I'm probably going 100% Harden and 50% Giannis. Makes sense. What's up, Encore? What up, Mundos? World Tice put up points. Yeah, the Boston Celtic front court situation got a little blurry, right? TT got rolled out on the air yesterday, and there was going to be a lot of buzz on Robert Williams, and then Williams ended up not starting, and Robert Williams ended up being almost unowned, and Daniel Tice put up a big game. Another like strong fantasy game from a center in that matchup, and that matchup usually gets a lot of fear. So something to keep an eye on. But Moses Brown was really all you needed on either site. Just min-price 50s. You can't beat those, man. You really can't. Fantasy Labs at 3 p.m. News to watch. Jimmy Butler, questionable. Pascal Siakam, questionable. Fred VanVleet, questionable. Christian Woods expected to play. Kevin Love's to be determined. Serge Ibaka, questionable. Daniel House Jr., questionable. Wayne Ellington, doubtful. And then also Trevor Ariza was traded for a second-round pick and Myers Leonard. So the Oklahoma City Thunder, if you are a basketball player in college, you now have a 70% chance of being a member of the Thunder in the next half decade. The picks that they've, of course, stacked up is just actually dumb. And, of course, earlier today, Kyrie Irving ruled out. So it's going to be one of those James Harden and no one else days. You know how that tends to go. So what are we going to do? What's up, Andrew Collins? Running back Harden with LeVert today. LeVert revenge. And can we talk about LeVert's FanDuel price? FanDuel. Can we talk about this? Can we 4,400, bro? I mean, free squares are free squares, right? You do the thinking for me, but come on. Make it a thought, Jeez. Free as free gets, right? Is that it? There was no other news, right? All right, chat. About 30 minutes ago, Rods was like, hey, I'm not going to be there, for this giant slate. That would really, really be cool if multiple minds broke it down. So, one, F you, Rod, for waiting so long to pull out. And secondly, you know how that is. It means I have to freestyle solo. I did put up an invitation on Twitter, but it was a very low minute or low time notice, so I didn't really expect anyone to be available. So it's just gonna be me. But if you guys have or you guys see news dropping in the Twitter sphere, be sure to spam chat. Let me know. And we're gonna try and navigate here and really kind of pull away with some of the better plays. The bigger the slate, the more I kind of want to make my player pool tighter, kind of lean on some strong cores, because usually there's a lot of guys that I don't have to get too cute with, or a lot of positions I don't have to get too cute with because of strong options. So hopefully today will be one of those slates, and we will dive headfirst using the RunDFS.com NBA VIP spreadsheet. Kevin Porter turned out to be the truth. KPJ's good. These are good. They're not winning games, but KPJ's pretty doggone good. Put him and Christian Wood in the mix tonight. We might get a glimpse of that, and maybe they have something to work with going forward. Man, but was anybody else sweating that Oladipo first quarter? That was a rough one. Let me pull up the different chart here. All right. All right, let's get started here. Toronto Raptors at the Detroit Pistons. Project starting five for the Raptors: Kyle Lowry, Fred VanVleet, Norman Powell, Pascal Siakam, and Aaron Baines. Taking on DeLon Wright, Josh Jackson, Sadiq Bey, Jeremy Grant, Mason Plumlee. We got 217.5 total, a 4.5 point spread in favor of the visiting Toronto Raptors. Raptors looking a little more healthy when it comes to projected starters. We'll pull up the Raptors injury news and notes. Malachi Flynn still questionable, and officially VanVleet and Siakam are questionable, but it's an upgrade. VanVleet's been upgraded to questionable on Wednesday after being cleared to practice on Tuesday. He opened up about his battle with COVID-19, and he suffered from a lot of symptoms. He was quoted as saying, "I tested positive, had symptoms pretty soon after that. Back was sore, body aches. I just felt like I played 3 nights in a row. Sore, headache, my eyes were hurting. I didn't have the shortness of breath or anything like that. I had a fever for a day and a half, 2 days, but definitely nothing like anything I've ever had. I could feel that it was something different. I just felt the sickness. I could just feel it in me. I could feel it in my bones and my blood and my muscles." So this will be the first game that he'll be eligible to play. We'll see if they run him out there after all said and done. Maybe they take it easy on him if he is able to go. We've definitely seen a couple of these guys come back from COVID and complain about their lungs and just how they feel. I think we saw it with was it Tatum was talking about it as well. So keep an eye on that. Patrick McCaw, questionable, not going to be a big impact on what we do here. And then Pascal Siakam is questionable. He's out of quarantine. Fred VanVleet's closer to doubtful. Nick Nurse may want him to go through at least a few practices before they're fully cleared. If Siakam and VanVleet are out again, expect Terrence Davis, Stanley just all right. So if you're taking notes with pencil, we'd probably asterisk Norman Powell here against the Pistons and Kyle Lowry because there's still a chance VanVleet just straight up doesn't play and Siakam could not play as well. And I think as long as I get like VanVleet out, I could buy into Lowry and Norman Powell. Powell's 7'7", 7'5". I need that 40+. But this matchup might net that if VanVleet is unable to go. Chris Boucher is over 7K on both sites. PPM monster, the matchup's fine, but if Siakam's in, I probably would not be able to touch that. And if he was out, it's still a tougher decision. Probably wouldn't run to it, but he might make the player pool should the Raptors continue to be as short as they had been. So Raptors definitely going to be very news intensive today. On the Pistons side, DeLon Wright, south side of 6K. We're looking for 30+ fantasy points. I think he's a chip in a chair for that. Jeremy Grant, looking for 40+ here. Chip in a chair for that. And then Mason Plumlee, 5'8", 6K. His minutes a month or two ago had creeped up into 35+. They've kind of gone back down to the south side of 30. Isaiah Stewart kind of creeping into the rotation. So still Mason Plumlee can get you 30 fantasy points, but at this price point you kind of need that. If Siakam's back, I'm probably not running to it. This is probably a game that would maybe make a couple of tier 3 one-offs here. I don't see myself stacking this or anything like that. Medium to down total. I just don't have a whole lot of faith in the minute rotation and the volatile success or lack thereof for the Pistons. You might still get a little bit of value out of this guard situation waiting on Diallo to be active. And if Wayne Ellington and Rodney Magruder can't go, maybe this deep minutes for like a Josh Jackson, Dennis Smith Jr. and DeLon Wright. So maybe we'd bet on that just a little bit more. But they still have Frank Jackson in the mix, right? What up, Dez? You all right, bro? Hopefully you guys are crushing it today. Let me refresh the spreadsheet because I'm tired of this red bar at the top bugging me. Chat, if I missed any gems here, if you guys have done some research already, if you guys are on anybody that, or anybody in games that I'm just like, let me know, man. Let me know if you're going to have some people in that Raptors game. I definitely think I would have some Norman Powell if we got no VanVleet, and then definitely would have some Norman Powell if we got no VanVleet and no Siakam. Because remember, OG Anunoby still officially out. So we got a potential another 38-minute game from Powell in a softer matchup, right? Holy cow, Batman, Dylan Wright, 5,400 on FanDuel. Yeah, a little revenge, huh? What up, ACP? Hope you're doing all right today. Brooklyn Nets at the Indiana Pacers. Project starting five for the Nets: James Harden, Bruce Brown, Joe Harris, Jeff Green, DeAndre Jordan. Taking on Malcolm Brogdon, Karis LeVert, Justin Holiday, Domantas Sabonis, and Miles Turner. We got 231 total right now listed as a pick'em. Kevin Durant, Blake Griffin, and Kyrie Irving out. Man, that injury out list looks like a big three for a couple teams. On the Pacers side, TJ Warren is out, Jeremy Lamb questionable. I think the big news here, obviously no Kyrie, so James Harden's going to sustain the most minutes at a ridiculous usage rate, probably 40% plus. We'll run the numbers here in a second. Up against Karis LeVert, who was involved in the trade to acquire James Harden from Houston, and then LeVert was then traded to Indiana. He is 4,400 on FanDuel, and that's actually a crying shame. Like, that just seems like a free square, and I don't have much pushback. The only thing that would make this a little bit better is if this was in Brooklyn, right? Like, that's an insane price. So, with that said, the Brooklyn Nets defensively are going to be one of the worst defenses on the slate. Their offense should be pretty strong, so the Pacers will have to keep up in scoring. My cat would like to co-host the show with me. Pull up the Fantasy Labs on-off court tool and just kind of put a number on what James Harden can do in this situation as the backbone of the Brooklyn Nets. We'll take off the big boys. Let's see, Kevin Durant and Kyrie. That's all we're gonna do is just take those two off and then put Harden on. Cat's trying to get into the other room where my old lady is sleeping, and the door shut. And he's just meowing his heart out. 36% usage rate, over fantasy point per minute. We've seen this how many times over the years. James Harden is just going to assume a bufu amount of usage, likely going to be a guy that we don't project for less than 60 fantasy points. My soft projections have him at 63, 65. So Harden's absolutely somebody we can core at the top end. And you can even say on FanDuel, $11K and $4,400 for LeVert. That's a less than $16,000. So basically, $8K a piece. And in this spot, they both might get there. LeVert hasn't suffered from a minute restriction or anything like that since coming back. And we saw him in that in this return playing upwards of 30 minutes. So even on DraftKings, there's at least there's a thought of him, being able to go get you 40 fantasy points. But look at these first two games back for him: at Phoenix, tough spot; at Denver, altitude, tough spot. 27, 29 minutes. Home debut here in Indy. I just think this is going to be a super smash spot, and it likely will be the highest owned player on FanDuel. I am curious to see where the DK players get to in terms of ownership of them. I just think it's a strong spot. Sabonis, Miles Turner, bigs against the Nets. I don't mind that. Sabonis, somebody I'm a little bit more likely to gravitate towards just because of his minutes and his usage. But this is a good spot for the Pacers all the way around. Pricing getting a little bit more uncomfortable to stack, but I do think Sabonis has a case for 50-plus fantasy points. And even Miles Turner at under 6K on DraftKings, I wouldn't say that there's a 0% range of outcomes for him to get there. This season against the Brooklyn Nets, he's averaging 8 in one game, 25 minutes. The Brooklyn Nets front court, DeAndre Jordan on FanDuel at 4,300. I also think that's got an opportunity to help a lineup out if you're trying to get to like a Giannis Harden lineup. I don't think it's out of the range of possibility for DeAndre to get there against the Pacers. The Pacers front court, at least from a fantasy perspective, have allowed some decent to strong fantasy games. And DeAndre Jordan, here and there, dropping some 27s, 30s, stuff like that. Earlier this season, he dropped a point per minute in 36 minutes. So I actually think DeAndre could make my FanDuel player pool. And then if we wanted to elongate on that a little bit, maybe a chip and a chair on like a Nicholas Claxton. And then Jeff Green is a little bit more volatile, but I would say without Kyrie Irving, I think we put the scoring load on like Joe Harris, and then somebody else kind of has to step up here. And I think Jeff Green could be that guy. If we look at that KD, Kyrie off, James Harden on sample size, there's 187 minutes there that involved Jeff Green having the second highest usage rate at 21% and over a fantasy point per minute. So I don't mind that at all. And then, like I said, Joe Harris probably would be the guy that take the second most amount of shot attempts, probably. And at 4,700 on DK, I'm looking for a shot at 20 real points. I think that's potentially here. He's not going to give you much in lieu of peripherals, but I do think at the price point, there's a shot at 20 to 25 real points, and then a couple of peripherals to kind of give you a shot at 30. He's 3,800 on FanDuel. That could be a problem for my lineups because I may have a dumb amount of that. That seems a little too cheap. 3,800, 300 off of min price. So like the slate might just be giving me LeVert and Joe Harris. It's not going to be hard to go get us some Harden and some Giannis. Like I would be fine with 25, right? Like holy, that seems a little light. Shot attempts, right? Am I wrong to project him as the number 2 shot taker today? I mean, obviously a Green or a Bruce Brown or somebody like that could stun us, but without Kyrie could be 25 shots we're taking off the court. Turn this into 15 field goals, all of them probably from 3. Man, Joe Harris might be just an elite value play on FanDuel for me. Let's see what you guys got here before we move on to the next one. DeLon Wright might be nice for that revenge spot. Yep, Karras talk for sure. Who else scores for Brooklyn? I got Harden, Joe Harris, and then I think it's just a spray and pray the rest. Offensive rating. Joe Harris has the highest offensive rating in this with the sample size. So does DeAndre Jordan. So I like those two on FanDuel. I think the net stack is very viable on FanDuel. How do you feel about Jeff Green? I think he's cheap enough on both sides. I think 30 fantasy points is a range of outcome for him, if not more. And I don't mind picking on this Pacers front court from a fantasy perspective. More so from like a center spot, but we definitely have seen the Nets go small and use Jeff Green at like a center role. The Indiana Pacers are allowing a top 10 amount of fantasy points to the center spot and the power forward spot. So really good spot for Jeff Green here to succeed in the absence of both KD and Kyrie. FanDuel pay down center. I'm looking at Zubac. I can see that. Can we jam Giannis, Harden, Jokic on FanDuel? I want to stew on this idea during stream. Yes, absolutely. I think FanDuel is so easy to studs and scrub every day. But if we are specifically trying to go Giannis, Harden, and Jokic, I do think there's some value at center today. But if we're specifically trying to go Giannis, Harden, and Jokic, I think when we click enter into a contest, when we open up a lineup page, it should just have Karras LeVert in it. And then Joe Harris is too cheap, so we'll put Joe Harris in the mix right there. And those are two elite value guys, and that's still going to give us 45 per. So there's probably still some guys floating that we'll get to. So I definitely think it's very viable to get these guys today. And I'm sure we'll see some more guys kind of open up here. What up? Okay, I see what you did, Mopar. I was like, Steve, what's up, Solo? What up, Russ? Is Harden worth the risk of not playing one of the stars from the Zach Washington game? Yes. In that sentence, are you implying that the stars of the Zach Washington game are higher owned than Harden, because it seems like that wouldn't be the case. It seems like James Harden, when this spot opens up several times a month, it just ends up being the highest owned stud. So Sacramento, Washington is going to be an elite game stack. I love that game. But I'm just wondering, in the context of that sentence, are you implying that Harden is contrarian to that game? Because I don't think it is. I think Harden would be the wave of the casual or the average player today. And then going to that game could be the lucrative pivot. That's just me thinking here, though. I could be way wrong. Like, Harden could be contrarian, but I'm just assuming he's not. But that game should be glorious. Let's move on to the next game here. Philadelphia 76ers hosting the Milwaukee Bucks. Project starting five for the Bucks. Drew Holiday, Dante DiVincenzo, Chris Middleton, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Brook Lopez taking on Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, Danny Green, Tobias Harris, and Tony Bradley. Sixers still without Joel Embiid. It's a 5.5-point spread in favor of the visiting Milwaukee Bucks. I think the Sixers... I think Doc Rivers is gonna have to get a little creative here. I think they got Matisse Thybulle as their kind of their linchpin defender here. I would assume that Doc Rivers wants to try and get Thybulle on Giannis a little bit, just to kind of see if that would do anything. I don't think Giannis is I think he's just straight up matchup proof, but I definitely think they might try and sacrifice Thybulle here for some Giannis. So I wouldn't be surprised if we got a funkier lineup, or at least a funkier rotation that involved more Thybulle. But offense is going to be key here, trying to keep up the Bucks here. So also wouldn't be surprised if we got a lineup that maybe painted Shake Milton into a little bit more minutes. And in this particular matchup, a guy like Seth Curry probably has to pick up some slack, because we know the story with the Bucks, right? You want to score against the Bucks, you're probably going to have to chuck that three ball, going to keep up with their pace. And I think Seth Curry's probably their best three-point shooter. He's 5'1", 5'4", so you need that 30 fantasy points in tournaments. I don't really think I'm going to gamble on that too much, but that's kind of what it is. And then Tobias Harris, 7'8", 8'4". I'm not as enamored by the 76ers today as a lot of people. I've seen a lot of lineups so far thrown at me with like Ben and Tobias. I get it. Like, I'm not pushing back against it, but I don't think that's going to be where my average lineup construction ends up tonight. So I might be down on the Sixers altogether. But I like, if I'm Doc Rivers, I want to get a little creative here, and I might even I would personally probably put Toby and Ben Simmons in the front court, start a Shake Milton, and probably start a Matisse Thybulle, and just say Thybulle, shadow defense Giannis. If you're getting foul trouble, you're getting foul trouble. But that's kind of me. So we'll see if Doc Rivers gets a little bit different today. I don't think I need a Danny Green here. I'm curious to see where the fill that ends up on that game. Giannis Antetokounmpo, 11-4, 11K. He's just Mr. 60 fantasy points at this point. If you check his campaign this season, 76, 70, 60. Has not played against Philly yet this season. I think it was a Christmas game between the Bucks and the Sixers last year, and I usually love running Giannis at Embiid and vice versa. They usually put on a show, but we don't get that here. No pushback on Giannis. Any other Bucks that we'd get to? I think Drew Holiday is still a little bit underpriced on both sides, considering that he's not on a minutes restriction. Looking for 30 to 40 fantasy points in tournaments, but I do think that is a range of outcome. The shot attempts are there for him, 14, 18 shot attempts the last two games. Last two games are against one of the best matchups you can ask for, but we know him as a perennial stat stuffer. He's going to do a little bit of everything, and if he can get his 15 plus real points, I do think the propensity to get 35 fantasy points is there. So he's a little bit on the cheap side. We talk about DeLon Wright being in the 5Ks. Drew Holiday in the 5Ks, probably exploitable. And I do think there's room for his minutes to keep going up in competitive games. Let's see what you guys got in the live chat. Drew Holiday revenge game in Philly. I like the price. Are we taking the over or under on the Washington stat game at 247? I I probably wouldn't bet that either way, but I don't disagree that should be a defense-free shootout. I believe Ben usually gets up for games against Giannis. We can check it out. See, you would think metrically that the Bucks are a bad spot for Ben Simmons, and the reason I say that is that the Bucks in the last couple seasons have just been one of the hardest teams to score on in the paint. I think the cat just tipped over the can. Dude, man, Google Sheets is just putting me through it today. But typically, the Milwaukee Bucks are a team that you have to score on from behind the arc, giving up amongst the fewest points in the paint. And we know Ben Simmons is going to score essentially 100% of his points via the paint. So I'll run the stat moose on that just to kind of see. But like metrically, if I had to guess pre-flop, it doesn't seem like an elite spot. DKP by game log versus Bucks last 10 games. But without Giannis, he's going to have to pick up some slack. Or, excuse me, without Embiid, he's going to have to pick up some slack. And you're probably looking for 50. So 10, 47, 55, 30, 30, 51. So, yeah, we'll take that 50 bomb. That came in deep minutes, 42, 38, 36. So, I guess it's definitely possible for Ben Simmons to kind of get there. But like I said, from a metrical standpoint, the Bucks are giving up the fourth fewest points in the paint. And that's usually not what you want if you're on a guy like Ben Simmons. So definitely don't mind, like if you came out with lineups Ben Simmons without Joel Embiid has to make a statement, go for it. On FanDuel, 7,900 really makes you wonder because he's going to get your peripherals too, assists and rebounds. An 8-9 on DK, that's a 9K investment. I probably don't land there. But on FanDuel, I think is a lot more viable, especially considering his peripherals and his stocks are that much more lucrative on FanDuel. Let's see what you guys got. Holiday should be in the COVID players not doing the best when they return list. Ellenson, revenge game against Detroit. Yeah. Furkan Korkmaz, Shake Milton. I think I don't mind sweeping through a couple of these wild card scores if I'm playing 150K entry tournaments, 100K to first, because there's a couple of game scripts that one could maybe put this game as a blowout and you get a couple more minutes for a Furkan, but also you're gonna need shooters, and shooters gonna shoot. Furkan's a shooter for him from behind the arc, so don't mind a couple of these guys as punts, but at 3,500 on FanDuel for Furkan, you're not gonna give up the shooting guard spot, and Joe Harris at the small forward spot's a couple hundred more, so easy pushback. Bobby Portis is 4K on FanDuel, 4,500 on DraftKings. 20 to 24 minutes on him likely net you a point per minute and a shot at a 30 fantasy point return. So, and then Brook Lopez. It's never fun to play Brook Lopez, but he did just win a tournament in his last game against his old brother, against his brother, old teammate. 43 fantasy points, 4 blocks. Every now and then he's going to do that for you. I think at 5K, I don't need to push the issue, but he was at least worth mentioning. Let's move on to a juicy game. Wizards hosting the Sacramento Kings, a 247.5 total. One of the highest, if not the highest, I can recall so far this season. A 2-point spread. This game should shoot out. This game should be very, very stackable. The Kings project starting 5, De'Aaron Fox, Tyrese Halliburton, Buddy Hield, Harrison Barnes, and Rashawn Holmes taking on Russell Westbrook, Bradley Beal, Garrison Matthews, Rui Hachimura, and Alex Len. Literally everyone on the Kings is viable and should be in your player pool. Tyrese Halliburton, you might worry a little bit about his minutes because coming back from that long stretch that he was out. I haven't seen a big minute ask of him yet. 24, 28, and 18. So his first couple games. So he's kind of ramping up. We have seen him play mid to high 30s earlier this season. So maybe he is ready to kind of pick up that responsibility. It says this was from the 13th. So yeah. On the 13th, he will have a minutes restriction against the Hawks, and that was 2 games ago. Let's see if my other. Yeah, I got no indication of what his minutes restriction, if at all, would be here today. Also feel like if he was on a minute restriction, you might see a Corey Joseph starting, or maybe a Nemanja Bjelica over Marvin Bagley. Bagley went down that last game. He's going to be out for a while, so we're just kind of guesstimating what this lineup would be. And this is the lineup I pulled from RotoWire. So there's still a lineup that would have either Corey Joseph instead of Halliburton, or everyone put Buddy Hield back at the 2, and maybe like a Bjelica, Jabari Parker, somebody like that at the 4. So just kind of keep an eye on that. I don't want to guess on Bjelica and Jabari Parker. I would, if you told me Bjelica would absolutely get 25 plus minutes, he would be one of my highest owned players. Maybe I'd take a couple gambles on that based on how many lineups I do end up running today. But the minute guys, the De'Aaron Fox, the Harrison Barnes, and Rashawn Holmes, those are all going to be minimum tier 2s for me. There's just so much upside in this game for everyone to be under 7K outside of Fox. I just got to soak them up. And on the Wizards side, Russell Westbrook. Is there a case that you could 1v1? And I, before you guys lose your mind, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but is there a game theory case that Westbrook outscores Harden today? He's a couple hundred cheaper, and he's in just one of the most elite spots you could ask for, going against the only defense basically worse than the Wizards. Maybe the Pelicans are up there. But if we look at that defensive rating column in the RunDFS.com team metrics tab, Sacramento Kings are the worst defense in the league by a 3-pointer, and the Wizards are 4th. So you get Westbrook with what he's been doing against that defense. I think there is a case where he outscores Harden straight up. And I think on FanDuel, we talked about the logistics of a Harden, Giannis, Jokic lineup. I think we shuffled the deck of cards with those studs. Like if we faded a Jokic for a Westbrook, and then we have some value at the center spot that we can already lean on. And same with the Giannis. Like we can mix and match studs here. So I definitely think there's going to be a lot of Westbrook Harden lineups, especially in my player pool for FanDuel. But I'm just running on a site like DraftKings where you can't really get away with multiple studs comfortably. I'm kind of wondering if there's a world where Westbrook's just a better play than Harden today. Bradley Beal, 95, 9,300. Should be a 40-plus real point opportunity for him here. 50-plus fantasy points, definitely within the wheelhouse. Rui Hachimura is a stronger debate coming off of a succession of good fantasy games. One game here against Milwaukee without anybody. There was no Bradley Beal. He played deep minutes, 38 minutes, dropped 52. Then he played 37 minutes with Beal back in the mix here and dropped a 41 fantasy point game. So if they're going to lean on him to play those type of minutes, certainly in this matchup, under 6K, if you get 37 minutes against the worst defense, I don't think you're out of the player pool, but I'm not willing to bank on those that high volume of minutes being his everyday workload with a high level of confidence. I still think Davis Bertans is there in the mix. I think Bertans is probably too cheap on both sides. If I get 24 minutes of him, I do think that's a strong chip in a chair, right? If we're giving the Wizards 125 implied points or something like that, definitely think a guy like Bertans could sneak through with 15 to 20 real points if he gets hot from 3. And then maybe one of these centers kind of pop off. It's hard to love an Alex Len or a Mo Wagner or a Rolo with confidence pre-flop, but we definitely can see that they could all be super valuable at their price point. And then Rashawn Holmes coming off a 60 bomb against the Charlotte Hornets without Bagley. Maybe a potential appearance by Whiteside or something like that might impede it here. But 41 minutes against Charlotte, 35 minutes seems to be what we would expect from him in a competitive game. I just don't know how he tanks a lineup at 6,700 against the Washington Wizards. So go to that DVP chart in the RunDFS.com NBA VIP spreadsheet, and sort of from most fantasy points allowed per game. Washington up there, 60 fantasy points per game. That's what you'll want. So love this game a lot, and I don't think I'm alone there. I think you guys are smart enough to kind of get there. Dude, my Google Sheets is going nuts right now. It's really annoying. I don't think Westbrook can get to Harden with Beal on the court. You don't think so? I think he can. Like, I don't think it's a 0% sum. I think there's right now I got him at about 10 fantasy point less projection than a Harden, but I definitely think there's a world where Westbrook could be a better play. I'm not projecting that necessarily, but I think if we're living in the game theory discussion, I think Westbrook in a nearly 250 total against the worst defense. You know, this could be a 60, 70 point triple-double, 70 fantasy point triple-double. Solo says, lock it in Tomas Satoransky on FanDuel, 3,900. I don't know why his price went down from 42, but I'll take it. I'm with that, Solo. I have no issues with that. But like I said yesterday, Satoransky was a massive ROI play, right? Almost 10x. But he wasn't in the winning lineup because raw points are raw points on FanDuel. And sometimes you can turn positions into like a tier, right? Mopar says, I actually live in Sacramento. We sleep with our doors open. Sure, come right in, take what you need. We won't stop you. Ricky, what's up, Ricky? Hard to play Westbrook on DK. Rather play Harden Bill. I definitely agree with that. Like, if I had to make a single entry lineup, Harden's the guy. But just exploring potential game theory. You know, if especially in like a single entry, like if you're gonna multi-entry with Harden exposure, maybe go get some of that extreme leverage in a single entry where Harden could be 50+% owned on a big slate like this, and hedge it with like a Westbrook or something like that. I think I would. I don't know, because I don't think it's a crazy thought either. So kind of thinking about that. I don't know. I'll be probably bullish on Harden in my multi-entry and then run it back in single entries and like fade them, just because anytime you could fade a top 2 price guy on a slate that might push 50+%, or like you can leverage the most expensive guy at half owned, just the ownership opportunity alone is great. But man, I think you get Russell Westbrook against the Kings. I'm kind of drooling at that thought. But when Harden drops 90, it doesn't matter, right? Spurs at the Bulls. Next game on the docket, project starting 5 for the Spurs. Dejounte Murray, Derek White, Lonnie Walker, Keldon Johnson, Jakob Poeltl. Am I not Poeltl enough for the Poeltl Club? Tomas Satoransky, Zach LaVine, Patrick Williams, Larry Markkinen, and Thad Young. Bulls, night 2 of a back-to-back. It's a 223 total, 1.5 point spread in favor of the home team. Chicago Bulls. Aldridge and DeRozan out again for the Spurs. We know that's a plus for Murray, Derek White. And then Keldon Johnson. In that last game, it's worth noting that his minutes finally hit 30, right? He had been kind of slowly worked back in. And then on night 2 of a back-to-back, he hits 32 minutes, which is something we had been waiting on since he came back from COVID. And now that we see that 30 minutes is a potential range of outcome, I do think we introduce him into the conversation going against a softer matchup like the Chicago Bulls. So kind of a deep-field flyer. That I like. Derek White, of course, per minute should thrive here in this spot. And then Dejounte Murray in a pace-up spot. You know, pushing almost 8K. I need that 40+, so it's not going to be anything I'm just smacking. But I do think it's there. I think my favorite Spurs play, floor-to-ceiling ratio, is going to be Jakob Poeltl. This guy's just been an animal from a point-per-minute standpoint. At 5,900, I'd live with 35 fantasy points in a deep-field tournament. And I just don't know how far he misses that here. The double-double with 4 blocks against Detroit. I think it's just a really good spot. Maybe I'm overvaluing his minutes. But no, I mean, competitive. There's a lot of blowouts in the Spurs game log, by the way. I think in a competitive game without Aldridge, without DeRozan, I don't think it's crazy to put 30 minutes on him. So I really like Pirtle's potential and propensity to be a 40 fantasy point play today. So give me some Pirtle as probably my favorite Spur, but ancillary shots on like a Murray, White, and even Keldon Johnson, even Lonnie Walker to an extent. But Pirtle's by far my number one. And I've been sleeping on Zach LaVine. I slept on him yesterday. I'm happy that his price is going below 9K now. I do like guards against the Spurs. Satoransky, Zach LaVine, both very, very viable. Satoransky, the starter for the Bulls right now. He started, 2 or 3 games now. Kobe White and Wendell Carter going to the bench. And as a starter, Satoransky's been just fine. Put up 30 fantasy points in back-to-back games, 26, 31 minutes, respectively. Doesn't need to shoot a whole lot. He's just stuffing the stat sheet. Maybe a comp to like a TJ McConnell with maybe less steals, right? So at 39, 38, put him in the mix there, see what he lets you get.Maybe he can be the bridge between a double stud lineup on DraftKings, like a Westbrook Harden, but on FanDuel, we're talking about that 3-stud approach. In this dummy lineup, we got the Giannis, Jokic, and Harden. Man, Satoransky right there. I don't really see why you wouldn't use him to bridge together a triple stud lineup. And like I said, I also don't hate the idea of like fading a Jokic here for like a Rashawn Holmes and then putting Westbrook in that spot. And that's probably what I'll do it in for like a cash game, giving me 47 per. So just for aesthetics here, let me put Westy in the mix, a little bit cheaper than Jokic too, and then Rashawn Holmes at the center spot, 6,900. Boom, 41 per. So I can't, I'm not going to give you a full lineup here, but I think this is a really, really strong start to a FanDuel lineup. So keeping that in the tab. You get a pack yesterday? No, I didn't, Rick. I didn't get a pack yesterday, but hopefully I'm saving my luck for like a Cool Cats drop. LaVine with an efficient, real 40 points yesterday. Yeah, LaVine was a strong play. I just got lucky by having, strong plays that weren't him. I don't know how I made out with big profit with SGA as one of my core shooting guards. Jake Puddle-Knight, I'm with that. Mopar says, I need that Larry Markkinen posterizing Moses Brown top shot moment. He may have had a big game, but he got his feelings hurt on that one. Yikes. Glenn giving the FanDuel sauce. Yeah, maybe I should calm down. Calm down. Tony Bradley quickly destroyed my lineup. Oof. Quickly was really high. You know what else was kind of high owned and busted? Trae Young reached 40+% on FanDuel, and he was just like a meh play. And then people were really down on Damian Lillard, and I just didn't get why we were so down on him. I know McCollum was back, but I wasn't going to get less minutes for Dame. At least not that many less minutes. And he still get 40, and it was such a good matchup. I didn't have Gallo either. I was going back and forth with him or Knight. Once Capella was rolled out, I just tiered one Gallo and John Collins and called it a day. What's up, Jim? I need a $3,000 player. Any suggestions? I'm assuming you mean DraftKings. I'd look at the projections, but we'll just go to a $3,000 player. 3,000, bro? You're down bad, bro. What are you doing? 3,000? Holy, man. It's down. It's ugly down here, bro. I don't know what you're doing. Quinn Cook might get minutes. I'm not gonna put Boban. Bro, Frank Jackson might get minutes with Wayne Ellington. With Wayne Ellington and Rodney Magruder questionable and Ham Diallo out, maybe Frank Jackson gets minutes if you're down that bad, like that bad. Tyler Johnson for Brooklyn might get some run with Kyrie out. He's at least a big. Yeah. You're down bad, my brother. Those are probably the two names I would throw at you. but you must have like 5 studs if you're shopping for 3K. What's up, Sleepy Joe? Top shot play of the day on DK sleeper 10x. Somebody didn't get 10x on their price today. Karis LeVert, but if we're talking on DK, 10x. Let's see who I just have as the top value play anyway. Maybe Jeff T. I don't know. You're down bad. I bet you just have like a super stud lineup. B at least hits 3,700. If B at least like outrun, I could see him being 37 DKP. Just need those the minutes there. And then Satoransky could probably 10x. Those are probably the 2 candidates. Did I miss anything? W. German says today's fantasy headline from last night's game should read "Holy Moses." Had big game Dame in all my life. Let's go, Lorenza. Yeah, I love late night hammer Damian Lillard when he just pops off and you're just soaring to the top. Boston Celtics at the Cavs. Next game on the docket. Celtics 9-2 for back-to-back. Project starting 5 for the Celtics. Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Semi Ojeleye, Daniel Tice taking on Darius Garland, Colin Sexton, Isaac Okoro, Larry Nance, Jared Allen. Kevin Love is questionable. Taurean Prince is questionable. Kemba Walker for the Celtics out. Tristan Thompson for the Celtics out. We got 212.5 total. The Cavs are one of the best bets in basketball right now. Are the Cavs under 100? Their offensive efficiency is so bad. 98, 82, 82 in their last 3 games. We can forgive and forget the 98 against Miami, but at Atlanta, at New Orleans, those are 2 of the bottom 6 defenses right now, and they just haven't been getting it done. So for that reason, I'm out. If we can Shark Tank the Cavs out of playability. So no Cavs for me. On the Celtics side, you can make a case for Marcus Smart without Kemba if you trusted minutes for him. I probably don't have a reason to get there on either site, but 30-plus fantasy points not an outlandish projection. It's an 8-point spread, but without Kemba, we've seen Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum both have strong games. And then without Tristan Thompson, to revenge game his way to a big spot. Daniel Tice, 4,400 on FanDuel, 4,100 on DraftKings. If we go back to that stud lineup where we have 4,100 left, Daniel Tice could maybe fill in the gap here as a value big. Last night without TT, Daniel Tice got 26 minutes, dropped 37. We've seen him, have a shot at 30 fantasy points with 20 minutes. If this game blew out and you gave him some back-to-back rest, Robert Williams could shine. So maybe keep an eye on that. And then with this Magic lineup, leaving 3,800 for one small forward spot, guys like Otto Porter, Danny Advia, couple guys in the mix there. So yeah. If I got Tice at 25 minutes, but if a guy like Robert Williams got himself 20-25 minutes as well, he's another guy that can 30-plus fantasy point his way to success. I probably fade this game and hope for the best. I do think there's a 50-plus fantasy point range of outcome for a Tatum, and Jaylen Brown without Kemba is interesting. I guess it's only fair that we go run the actual numbers for the Boston Celtics. Let's take off Kemba and let's put on Tatum and Brown, and then just maybe keep an eye on another curveball from this game dropping. So Brown and Tatum. How about Nico Mannion at 3K? He'll get run. Then if you blow out a possible big game, maybe. None of those guys are probably going to be factors to win a tournament, but Maybe 27% usage rate on Jaylen Brown, 30% usage rate on Jason Tatum, 400 plus minutes of sample size without Kemba Walker. Tatum's assist rate's at 19.4%. Both those guys at about a fantasy point per minute. Same with Daniel Tice. All the Celtics essentially a fantasy point per minute. There's even some Tristan Thompson in the mix. So if we want to isolate these minutes and sample size a little bit more, we can take off TT and just kind of see if that wiggles the needle a little bit. Sample size on minutes drops exponentially, almost over half. The usage rate is still the same, 28 and 30 respectively for Brown and Tatum, but the point per minute goes up a little bit more. So yeah, I wouldn't talk you down off of a Brown or Tatum lineup, but at their price points, it's hard to justify them if you're running 20 or less, right? 9K on Tatum is Bradley Beal range, and then Jaylen Brown. I could see the Jaylen Brown case, but probably not going crazy there. So just give me a little bit of Daniel Tice and a thought of a Robert Williams. Other than that, I got like 11 guys for the Celtics that could potentially get some run here. And no cash for me, like I said. See what you guys got in the chat. Is using Vassell for the Spurs as a value on FanDuel a bad play? I think it's a bad play, but is he shooting guard? He's shooting guard. So just thinking from a FanDuel perspective, if you're using Devin Vassell, to me that means you're not using James Harden, which is fine, because I just don't see a way out of Karis LeVert today on FanDuel. I just don't. So yeah, Vassell without DeRozan, looking for some opportunity. Got 21 minutes that last outing. 21 might be a little on the high end. I think it's a bad play, but I'm not excited about it. But I don't see a way out of Karis LeVert, so I'm assuming that's a double punt position for you. How about Nico Mannion for 3K? Oh, you see that game? How do you feel about Jeffries from Sacramento tonight? Daquan, I hadn't considered him. Should I be considering him? I think it really just comes down to what is Walton going to do with Nemanja Bjelica and Jabari Parker, which I don't think there's an answer pre-flop. Like, no one knows. That dude's rotation is so frustrating. I don't really think I get to him. Jim, you are really hunting for 3K player, ain't you? I respect it. I respect it. Fading hard and Yoka. Okay, Brian, I get that. I think Vassell's just the definition of a punt. Like, if it lands, it lands, but hard to love it pre-flop. Because outside of DeRozan, they still have a decent chunk of guards, right? Patty Mills, Derek White, Dejounte Murray, Vassell in the mix, getting 30 minutes of Keldon now. So I don't know. I think Vassell, get his share, but something to write home about. Golden State Warriors at the Houston Rockets. Next game on the docket, projects 35 for the Warriors. Steph Curry, Andrew Wiggins, Kelly Oubre, Draymond Green, Kevin Looney taking on Kevin Porter. Sterling Brown, Daniel House, Jayshawn Tate, and Christian Wood. We got 229.5 total, 12-point spread in favor of the Warriors. The Rockets have lost, 15 now without Christian Wood. It's pretty bad. They're out and questionable. Injury list is pretty devastating. Guys that we have officially out: Dante Exum, Eric Gordon, Rodion Carew, David Nwaba, Victor Oladipo, PJ Tucker, and John Wall. All of their veterans. So it's going to be a young Rockets team with Christian Wood potentially back in the mix. Don't know what we should expect from a minutes projection. I got 27 on him. I don't know if that's too high or too low, but he is probable for this one, and it's going to be fun to watch him and Kevin Porter go for it. The Rockets are 0-17 since Wood's injury, and they desperately need him back. It's unclear if Wood will be on any type of minutes restriction yet, but his return likely means a step back for Kenyon Martin Jr. and small ball Jayshawn Tate. So we're watching that. I do think at 84-85, it doesn't make sense. It really doesn't, how these prices happen, because I'm not saying he shouldn't be AK, but then we look at guys like Karis LeVert and even KPJ to an extent, right? Kevin Porter Jr. has been underpriced on FanDuel this whole time. How did FanDuel decide to just leave Wood there? I don't think it's wrong. I'm just saying, how is this, but that is that. Kevin Porter Jr. 6,300. I'm fine with sticking with KPJ here. Definitely think gets up. Opportunity against Steph Curry, kind of a show me spot. On FanDuel, he's 6,300. On DK, 6,800. Last night, I kind of leaned on him on both sides again. Without Oladipo, he's going to probably lead this team in minutes and probably lead the team. I'm not going to say lead the team in usage because I think Christian Wood does do that. But I do think 36 to 46 fantasy points isn't a crazy projection on him. So I do like KPJ. Maybe not a tier 1, maybe a tier 2, but he'll be in the mix for me. And then chat, do you take any stabs at Christian Wood if you thought he's only getting 25 minutes? My short answer is probably no for me. And then any of the ancillary Rockets are really just punts. If this Rockets rotation gets a little bit more tight, meaning we get like a McLemore and Daniel House ruled out, then maybe I think a little bit stronger on a Kenyon Martin, but he's still 5K on both sites. I would just maybe put more minutes there on Sterling Brown and Kevin Porter. I think they ended up having 8 active yesterday. Ben McLemore, he is questionable with a sprained left ankle. He missed yesterday. And then Daniel House is questionable with a right knee contusion. They expected Daniel House to play yesterday, but he was scratched late and missed his 5th game in a row. So kind of watching that. I think Kevin Porter is really the only Rocket that I'm going to have interest in from where I'm sitting now. And on the Warriors side, Steph Curry 9-4, 9-8. Does Steph Curry get sub 10% ownership with the James Harden sweepstakes? Really, even at Steph Curry's price, we can make a case for De'Aaron Fox in that massive total game. And even Westbrook might suppress his ownership a little bit as well. And Draymond Green, 6'7", 6,600. If that game stays competitive enough, long enough, definitely like bigs against the Rockets front court. But is that a price point that might just be appropriate to where I don't risk it? I think the Warriors... The Warriors are all kind of curious decisions here, but I think Curry and Draymond are really the two that you have to think about. Do you want some? Do you want none? Or do you just hope, hey, if Curry drops 50, that's cool, but I'm banking on the Westbrook or the Harden 60s, 70s. So I'm curious to see what you guys are doing with the Warriors. Let me know in chat. But I think Kevin Porter is really the only Rocket for me. What's up, Self? How you doing, bro? Tim Hardaway Jr. or Josh Jackson and FanDuel as a value play. Both teams have injured players. I probably go Josh Jackson in that one. And that becomes a better play, in my opinion, if we get Magruder, Ellington out. And we already know Ham Diallo is out and Svi Mikalik isn't on the team. So Josh Jackson probably has an argument for 30-plus minutes. And I just think his floor is a little higher than Hardaway if you give them both the same amount of minutes, just based on Jackson's propensity to do a little bit more than scoring, right? Des says, honestly, if you wanted to, Steph could be the highest scorer on the slate. If the Rockets, game theory-wise, yes. Russ says, in a game that is already projecting blowout, is my boy Jordan Poole going to be the forgotten value? 100K musings there from Russ. Jordan Poole, 3,600, 3,500 on DraftKings. Min-price special, maybe? All right. ACP says, no way I'm playing AK Wood for possibly 25 minutes. All right, no Wood tonight. So warm-up for his revenge versus Detroit. Let's go. I hope to be getting... Okay, hey. It's a family show, bro. What are you trying to do to me, bro? Get me canceled? Effing A. Karis LeVert's going to be interesting too. Yeah, Karis LeVert should be the highest owned player without a doubt on FanDuel. If he's not, then something's wrong. Warriors stack if no blowout. Their defensive rating is kind of poor, but man, the Rockets are just... Man, this is, like I said, it's a travel ball team of G League best with Christian Wood right now. What's up, James? What's up, Gunn? I think the Rockets activated Wood because they might not have enough bodies tonight. Remember they lost Depot last night. Nah, he was supposed to come back soon. They did only have 8 active yesterday, but like in a case like that, you just emergency active somebody you don't think is going to play, and then he doesn't play, right? Mannion at 3K will get 17. So Nico Mannion, Jordan Poole, you guys are flirting with them. I don't mind the thought process there. Jim says, Gun, this is my lineup. This is what we need a 3K for. Harden, LeVert, Marcus Morris, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Nemanja Bjelica, Tomas Satoransky, Rashawn Holmes. So I need a 3K player for the F position. Yeah, that's tough. Gun shows rated G. Watch the adult theme language. It's a Christian Minecraft server, bro. That's tough, Jim. I like those pieces, but you're already kind of stretching it. Marcus Morris, huh? Is he expendable? I don't know. Charlotte Hornets at the Denver Nuggets. Next game on the docket, projects 35 for the Hornets. LaMelo Ball, Terry Rozier, Gordon Hayward, P.J. Washington, Cody Zeller taking on Jamal Murray, Facundo Campazzo, Will Barton, Michael Porter Jr., and Nikola Jokic. We got a 228.5 total, 6.5 point spread in favor of the Denver Nuggets. This is a tough spot on the Hornets. Altitude, tough pricing. Hayward, Ball, probably the two guys I consider the most, but even then, I'm not pushing the issue. I think on FanDuel, Cody Zeller, 4,300. I think we talked about like DeAndre Jordan's not far from that price point in a good matchup, so I don't really see myself getting to Cody Zeller. I don't know if I get to any of these Hornets here. On the Nuggets side, Jokic is an elite matchup, 11-2, 10-8 on DraftKings. We just saw Rashawn Holmes drop a 60 bomb here. Definitely a triple-double spot for Jokic. He kind of needs it at this price point, but I got no pushback here. We talked about the validity in triple stacking studs on FanDuel today. I definitely think I'm going to have a lot of lineups that just go Westbrook, Harden, Giannis, Westbrook, Harden, Jokic, Harden, Giannis, Jokic. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, there's no reason to not love Jokic. The only pushback here is do the Hornets keep it close? And I'll say when the Hornets are full strength, they kind of keep games scrappier than we might give them credit for. You think about at the Phoenix Suns and at the Utah Jazz. I know the end score at the Utah Jazz was a little bit worse, but up until the Gordon Hayward getting injured that game was really competitive. And then I think they beat the Phoenix Suns. So maybe the Hornets surprise people here at Denver. I don't think anybody here from a fantasy perspective is really like 8,200 on LaMelo, maybe on FanDuel. I think isn't Ben Simmons is 300 less. I don't know. I don't think I get to any Hornets, but Jokic is there for me, and I'm not even that excited about the game or the Nuggets side either, just because of how much volatility is involved with each player individually. We did mention Will Barton, 5.54. I got him at the third most projected minutes on the team, and he does chuck threes, right? If you look at Will Barton's game log and check out his shot attempts, 7, 10, 10 3-point attempts in his last 3 games, Indiana, Dallas, Memphis. If we go check out that team metrics chart in the RunDFS.com NBA VIP spreadsheet, look at points allowed via the 3-ball. The Charlotte Hornets are giving up the third most points via the 3-ball here. So maybe Will Barton chip and chairs his way at 5.4 to 30-plus fantasy points, sure. And then Michael Porter's in a soft spot as well. So I don't mind that either. Let's see what you guys got in the chat for this one. What's up, B-Fam? Very easy to play these stars tonight. Absolutely. Is it Scary Terry's birthday today? Oh. Rozier's a little cheaper than I maybe thought he was. 6'5", 6'7". There's a case for 35, 45 as a window, but you kind of need that. And I don't know if I just don't ever play Terry. Even when he goes off, I just end up not having him. Tice or Jeff Green on FanDuel, who will get the most minutes? I think Jeff Green gets the most minutes, but it doesn't necessarily mean he'll be the higher scorer. But I probably put the minutes on Jeff Green right now. Probably. Next game on the docket, Miami Heat at the Memphis Grizzlies. Projection 75 for the Heat. Kendrick Nunn, Duncan Robinson, Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, Kelly Olynyk, taking on John Morant, Desmond Bane, Dylan Brooks, Kyle. The Andersons got tickets to the game. How'd they get tickets? Jonas Valanciunas, a 218.5 total, 1.5 point spread in favor of the home team Memphis Grizzlies. That, to me, is an indication that the Miami Heat, who have won a lot of their last 10, 15 games, might be without Jimmy Butler, who is questionable right now, dealing with a right ankle sprain. He's been stellar as the Heat have won 11 of their last 12. So them being that red hot right now, getting Adebayo back in the mix, I don't feel like if I'm an odds maker that I set the Heat as the underdog here, unless Jimmy Butler was out. So maybe kind of keep an eye on that. If Jimmy Butler does miss, we can next man up minutes and opportunity for Tyler Hero, maybe Goran Dragic, maybe deeper minutes on Kendrick Nunn. And then, of course, we know the usage for Bam Adebayo goes up. And Kelly Olynyk has had a stretch of really strong fantasy point games. So the Heat will be hard to predict, hard to love. There's going to be plenty of easier spots to go to elsewhere. The decision-making process on the Heat will be tough. On the Grizzlies side, JVal 7776, he's going to get no. Really, this game's not going to have any virtual ownership. JVal definitely has a case at his price point to drop 40 plus. But I really got no affliction to really get to anyone in this game, even if Jimmy Butler was out. If Jimmy Butler ended up playing, he's just been 50 plus fantasy points, but at 10-8 on FanDuel. I mean, we're literally in the Harden, Westbrook, Jokic, like Giannis area, and I don't know that I end up there today. So, at least not for Butler on a back-to-back with this Q tag and this game being 2 hours after lock. Like, there's probably no way I end up on Jimmy, unless even if he was ruled in certifiably right now and was like, I hate John Morant. I don't know. Is this game an X out? Big slate. We got to X out some of these games. I probably X this one out. Chat, let me know if you had any gems chilling in this one. Terry might go off. He seems like the type that likes to get lit on his birthday. Winslow revenge. Yeah, it is a Winslow revenge. It's a Andre Iguodala revenge, ain't it? I want Iguodala. I would say if Jimmy did miss, like the thought of Goran Dragic and Tyler Hero, a little bit more compelling. Hero being shooting guard on FanDuel, I don't really like. I'm going to be so locked into Harden LeVert. I just don't think Hero could interrupt that for me. But maybe Dragic is a point guard eligible guy or Kendrick Nunn if we put some bigger minutes on him, maybe. But it really just depends on how many lineups I get to. I think I'm sitting on 25 entries. We'll see if we wiggle that. Whenever there's like obscene core for me, like the LeVerts, Hardens, I don't need to run that many lineups to get what I think I need to get. So we'll see. That's it for that one. Let's move on to the next one. Main event tonight. Before we do that, take a pause for the cause. Let you guys know after the stream, it's the after party, and after the party, it's the Discord lobby. We'll be in the RunDFS.com NBA voice chat in the RunDFS.com Discord, where you can see my boy Russ out here, 100K musings from Russell Miller every day. Love waking up to that. If you guys want to join the Discord, it is a premium perk of having a subscription at RunDFS.com. And in about 40 minutes, if you open up the NBA side of things, you'll see this NBA chat with the voice icon. You click on that, chop it up. You can listen in or grab a mic, join the conversation. It's usually a fun time. Guys like me, Raj, Jake, Ed, Shady, shooting the breeze, coming up with some player pools. If you guys want to be part of that, go to RunDFS.com. Make yourself an account. Get signed up. Anyone since March 1st who has got themselves a VIP subscription will be eligible to win a month pass on top of their subscription. We're giving away 10 month passes. So if you guys have gotten week passes or anything like that since March 1st, or if you've been wanting to try and want to parlay that into potentially winning an extra 30 days, check it out. Go to rundfs.com, make sure you have an account, get signed up. Also, we're giving away month passes to randomly to people who use our PrizePicks code. PrizePicks, another form of DFS. It's kind of a mixture of parlay and prop betting. You can bet on fantasy points projected, bet on real points, bet on assists, bet on rebounds. Go check them out. I say it every day. It's a way to diversify your daily spend and a way to better reward your individual research. Next man up guys that have an opportunity to be to outperform their in isolated statistics, the points, rebounds, but maybe aren't viable in DFS. You can still bet on your research here and go over there and parlay 2 to 5 legs based on those projections. If you sign up using code GUNDACKER, they are going to match your first deposit instantly up to $100. No slow drip. You put $10 in, you get $20 to play with immediately. And then if you use code GUNDACKER when you sign up, you get that offer. But they also send me a list every day of people that are signing up with the code, and I will award some month passes randomly to some of those guys. It could be you. So if you guys haven't tried it, want a reason to try it, hey, free $10 to $20. Check that out. Also, the sports battle app on your iPhone. I think it's on Android too, but you might have to get there a little differently. If you sign up using code GUN on the sports battle app, they will just give you $10. Like, you don't even have to deposit. They're just going to give you $10 to try it out using code GUN. But they will also match your first deposit up to $100, much like PrizePicks is doing. So lots of exciting opportunities connected to the stream right now, but also some ways to win some VIP access for a month. Shout out to Russ, by the way, sponsoring 10 month passes to give away. Gonna be fun. Hustle says no way Jabari plays Gun. I don't know. I think he's healthy to play. It's just a matter of what Luke Walton does. Because Jabari Parker would be a beast if he got minutes, but so would Nemanja Bjelica. And you would assume with Marvin Bagley out, unless Whiteside can go, which he might be able to, they got to go somewhere. But I guess the Wizards play super small, so you can get away with it if you put Harrison Barnes at the 4, right? Jim says, you think the Sack Wash game could win the slate? Sacramento players, Holmes, Fox, Barnes, Hield. Yeah, absolutely. Westbrook, Rui, Beal. Yes, Jim, those would be my favorite plays in a game stack. I do think Tyrese Halliburton has a right to be in the conversation, but it's also understandable to be cautious based on the potential minutes cap potential. ACP can't wait for MLB. MLB is gonna be so much fun. I want to put up a masterclass for MLB just because I want more people to play it because it's such a beautiful sport. But I have to write it out and record it, and time is so strapped right now. I hate putting up MLB content and it gets 50 clicks and I'm just God dang it. But I love baseball. What up, Dez? Rock and Run DFS for baseball here. Good knows his baseball. Yeah, I definitely think I don't know. I just want to be humble. I love the baseball spreadsheet. I just love it. I put so much time into coding that thing. Oh, and it's so good. It's so good, man. It's so good. What's up, Mark? I took the past 2 days off from DFS, feeling refreshed. Kings Wizards game looks great. What's up, Mark? Welcome back. Yeah, that game should be nuts. Spend up on guard and center tonight. If the guards are Westbrook, Harden, yes. If the center is Jokic, sure. But I also think mid-tier center is strong. Jakob Poeltl, Rashawn Holmes. A couple of names that stand out to me. Even DeAndre Jordan on FanDuel. I'm telling you that the dude could drop 30 in that matchup. Giannis, thoughts on Giannis? It's Giannis. If you get Giannis in a competitive game, 60-plus fantasy points, likely going to be your floor. Would it be crazy to play Beal over Russ? Wouldn't be crazy, but because of because of Russ's peripheral floor, the triple-double threat, I feel like he's the safer play time and time again. And the Sacramento Kings are just so porous at everything. And Marvin Bagley being out, it's just going to be that many more rebounds to go around. So I definitely weight Russ higher. But like Beal's a fine play individually. Like not necessarily to spite Russ. Just he's a great play individually because of the matchup. Who we playing for value, Gun? Mark, what side are you playing on? If you're playing on FanDuel, Karis LeVert, Joe Harris are my two favorite value plays. And then Tomas Satoransky's probably in the mix as well. So those are probably the three on FanDuel. Wiseman's the sleeper at center. If you think that game blows out, I don't think that's a crazy take. But center's a volatile spot to give up. Yesterday, punting center worked because the punt center dropped 50. But when a punt center drops 10x, but we got centers dropping 50, 60. Usually the 50, 60s, those will play, right? Those will make it to the dance. Main event tonight, Mavericks hosting the Los Angeles Clippers. Projects 25 for the Clippers. Reggie Jackson, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Marcus Morris, Serge Ibaka taking on Luka Doncic, Josh Richardson, Tim Hardaway Jr., Maxi Kleber, and Kristaps Porzingis, a 227 total. A 2-point spread in favor of the visiting Clippers. Paul George, Kawhi, you know the deal on these two. They're very, very cheap collectively, particularly on DraftKings, 7-9-8-7. Likely to fall through the cracks, contingent, based on where our minds have already been. Sacramento, Washington, Harden without Kyrie, guys like that. These guys could combine for 100 plus, absolutely. Marcus Morris has assumed the starting job over Nick Batum, so 30 minutes of him at 3,700. Add him to the list of strong FanDuel value. Is he stronger than Daniel Tice in this magical lineup? Maybe. Put Marcus Morris. He might be small forward, though. No, he's a power forward. 3,700 for him? Huh? And 4,500 left for that last small forward spot. This is actually a dirty lineup. It's so dirty. Sadiq Bey, Cedi Osman. Looks like no matter what, that last small forward spot's going to be uncomfortable, but Sadiq Bey for 30 plus minutes, maybe. 4,300. Could I get 25? It's a range of outcome. Not consistent, but it is a range of outcome. I like this tape. I like it. You're on DK, Mark. So on DK, I'm probably leaning guys like Tomas Satoransky. Still can lean on Marcus Morris, and Joe Harris is still cheap over there. Not as cheap as FanDuel, though. Des Jesus to play if Ibaka's out. Please, Ibaka be out. So Serge Ibaka being questionable. You're looking at Ivica Zubac to get some next man up minutes. He's not that cheap. 4 or 5. I'm needing 25 to 30 fantasy points in tournaments. I think he can get it, but it's not that cheap. Luka 10-2, 10-7, looking for 60-plus fantasy points. He's going to be in a spot today where more people go Harden and Westbrook, so it's kind of a cool game theory play, leverage play. And then Kristaps Porzingis likely to get little to no ownership just based on where the field's at, 8-2, 8-1. Looking for 40-plus from him. And like I said, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard both could get 40, 50 individually. Those are kind of like the names that I gravitate towards through here. With Patrick Beverley still out, maybe 4,300 on Reggie Jackson as a chip in the chair potential. Not really pushing the issue on that. And then, like I said, if Serge Ibaka's out, Zubac, sure. No pushback on Zubac. Definitely can be a point per minute type of guy. Looking at his last 2 appearances here with the Ibaka injury, 35 minutes against Dallas, 32 fantasy points. Fine. Absolutely fine. Marcus Morris, I think, is the most intriguing based on his price point, especially on FanDuel. In that last game, Morris dropped 29.5 at 31 minutes. Double-digit shot attempts with a couple peripherals. So still cheap enough where the price needs to catch up to him. So I don't mind that at all. Jay Rich, Tim Hardaway, Jalen Brunson, I probably just don't land on these guys. All of them, I probably want a 25-35 range of outcome window, and you may get that, but I think the floor is still lower than 25, so I don't think I push the issue there. What are you guys doing with this one? chat before we get out of here. Mark says, hey, Russ, what's good? Join the 100K club with your brother. Yo, Mark, you joined that 100K club? You did tell me you joined that. Yo, shout out to Mark. Got a lot of success stories. It makes me so happy. Any Duncan Robinson if Butler's out on FanDuel? So Duncan Robinson's always just going to be like a scoring-dependent shot in the dark. And you could argue that he would probably, like, his big games were probably set up by Jimmy, right? Jimmy facilitating to him. But Duncan Robinson's not really going to make up the slack in peripherals. He's just going to catch fire and, hit 10 threes to win a tournament. So I think you could argue that he's a worse player without Jimmy, but that's just, like, I don't know. That's not really factual. That's just thinking, like, of their archetypes, their play styles. What up, though? How many games I missed? You missed them all, Quan. You missed them all. you can hit that rewind button, though. That's it, right? Anything else? Chat, you guys want to do me some favors here? We got 80 viewers, 20 likes. You guys want to hit that thumbs up button? A little good vibes, some good luck tonight. I would surely appreciate it. What's tomorrow looking like? When I do these solo streams, I kind of get done kind of quickly. I don't hate getting off the air early enough to get some food before the voice chat. Tomorrow is a 6-game slate, 6 p.m. lock. Wheelhouse slate. Let's go. Jazz at the Wizards. Maybe a Beal or a Westbrook. Sit that one out, maybe. Magic at the Knicks. Ew. Thunder at the Hawks. Pelicans at the Blazers. Ooh, we're running that one back, are we? Yes, sir. Dame Dollar. T-Wolves at the Suns. And Hornets at the Lakers. So, looks like Pelicans and Blazers are on track to be the stack mañana. So 6-game slate. We might go a little bit later, like a 30-minute later, like a 3:30, 2:30 maybe. But you guys, if you hit that notifications bell below, you'll actually just get a push notification when we do go live. And it's not a problem. It doesn't matter when we go live. You'll know. You'll know. KZ Akpala? You like Akpala? I don't think I'm playing Akpala. I don't think I'm doing that, man. Des is liking Guns videos. The first thing I do on here, man. I appreciate that. That's love. I'm out here about to buy a house right now. Dude, that is so awesome. Buying a house or a car from DFS money is just, like, so good. So good. When I hit my last big hit was the end of December, and I just prepaid like half a year of bills. Like, to me, that's more than, like, just buying ridiculous steaks and cars and all that, or not cars, but and clothes. You know what I'm saying? Like, just buying something that is tangible for, like, your family to enjoy based on either your hobby or your job. I don't know what levels you guys play at, but that's the dream, right, man? That's what you guys do all the time, right? Appreciate you, Gun. All right, ACP, I'll catch you around. What's up, Willie? Good job, Gun. Get that dough tonight, Ryan Levert Barton. Yes, sir. That's it, man. If you guys got anything else for me, twitter.com/Gundacker is the way to reach out to me. I will be there. I'll be here at my desk up until lock, a little after lock. And, of course, we'll be in the RunDFS.com VIP voice chat. So go to RunDFS.com, get yourself a VIP pass, and get eligible to win that month pass, man. We'd love to meet some new players. A month pass now will get you the first couple weeks of baseball. And when baseball and NBA are here, the month pass probably goes from 80 to 100 just based on how much extra work is done on a daily basis. So you get a little bit more of a value here, man. I appreciate you guys. Make it part of my day. Be part of your day. I love you. Good luck. God bless. And go win some money.